very much, to get the opportunity, and I want to thank Mr. Watt and his team for coming here today, and I want to thank the members for, trying to get retribution and proper and fair compensation for the people that were wronged, and that's very important. But we can't lose sight or focus on what's happening today or what's not happening today with the care of the elderly. And private and public nursing homes are doing massive work and operating great places for elderly people, but not all elderly people want to go into these places, because in some of their words, one I'll always remember, who was close to me, they feel it's like a departure lounge when they go into a nursing home or a long stay place in a hospital, and they dearly wish to stay in their own homes as long as they could. But I don't know if you're aware or not, in Kerry, and especially the Killarney and Castle Island areas, we've a desperate problem trying to source home healths. And the home healths we have are doing massive work, Trojan work. And they're limited in the amount of time that they can give, but they do great work. It's a pity. This problem has manifested since last June, and we're almost 12 months now. People are allocated the home help, and but nobody comes. They don't have the personnel or the people to come. And I'm asking you to address that issue. It's very serious in the Killarney and the Castle Island areas especially. And it's one of the biggest problems that's in my role as a representative at the present time, and my office. We're inundated with calls from people that just want to get a bit more home help. Some of them, I know one man is only getting a half an hour for a day for 5 days. He fell out of his bed last Saturday night, and his wrist was bleeding. And only that some neighbour at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, he rang him on the phone, and he answered the phone, and he got, it's terrible. And this man dearly wants to stay in his home as long as he can. And you see, this is not good enough. I remember a time when there was a flood here in Dublin, and the Taoiseach of the day got Wellington somewhere, and he went out to visit the people that were affected by the flooding. I'm asking you to place the same focus of attention on these poor people that, mothers that carried their children before they were born, that reared them and did everything for them. Fathers that served their families well in the first place and did everything for them. And we're not treating them as a nation. We're not treating them properly. And surely it does make sense to keep people in their home as long as possible, because it has to be less expensive to keep them in their own home and help families. And just at that juncture, Mr. Watt, I'll ask you, do you agree with me that it would be more advantageous and less expensive for the HSE to deliver more care at home? Just answer that first, please.
Again, I think you're drifting off the issue. It is in relation to, the discussion was in relation to nursing home charges, but I'll leave it up to the Secretary General.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Deputy, no, I do agree with you, and the government policy has been to increase the level of home supports the last number of years. I think 22.5 million hours, I think, for this year is the number. I think the challenge the government faces is actually, as you identified, is finding the staff to provide the service to people. And that's a function of wider issues in the economy in terms of availability of work and wages and so on. Minister Butler has published a report, Chair, a very good report, which sets out the challenges and sets out a series of actions in terms of changing the conditions of employment, increasing the pay, dealing with this whole issue of people not being paid for travel, looking at visa issues, regulatory issues. So Minister Butler has set out a programme, and the Minister is pushing that really hard. But I absolutely agree with you, and we all accept the problem. We accept that the policy is to keep people at home and have home supports. The challenge is to get people to provide that support.
All right, and one part I left out there is respite for family carers. There are no places. You know, I have a woman that wants to go to Lisbon or somewhere for a family wedding, and she's caring for her husband, and there is no place available for her. There's only one place in Kinmare, and similar in Killarney, and there's a rota that they get and that they have to adhere to, and she just can't get respite for 2 weeks. It seems very tough. But look, I'm asking you to deal with those. We have to deal with today's problems as well, and for me, this is some of them, and I've highlighted some of them, but the other one that I feel very strongly about, Chairman, and this is something that has happened in the past, but I don't ever again want it to happen in the future. The policy where family members weren't allowed in during the COVID into nursing homes and into hospitals. And you see, when we talk about that, it was terrible that people, after all that time, died alone. And you see, what didn't make any sense to me at all, Mr. Watt, was while the person was corpus mentis, the family weren't allowed to come in. But the very minute that the person went into a coma, or he or she is going to die, all the family members were left in. I mean, how did that make sense? That made no sense to me at all. If it was to avoid spreading infection to the hospital or in the hospital or to other patients or to the staff or whatever, how was it that they were allowed to come in at that point? And the person could live for, and I know one person that lived for 10 or 12 days in a coma, and the family were all in around. But the days that it mattered, where they could put a spoon of something into their mouth or give them a glass of water or a glass of orange or whatever it was, they weren't allowed into that. I'm asking you, Mr. Watt, to never again let that happen. And because it didn't make any sense. And I'm asking you now, right here and now, in this Oireachtas committee, what are your views on that in the future?
Thanks, Deputy. Nobody wanted to be in a position where that happens, Deputy, and hopefully we won't be there again. Thankfully, COVID is in a different place now. But obviously, the times to which you refer were very different, and very distressing, obviously, for families who were facing that situation where a loved one was getting to the end of their life and they couldn't say goodbye to the normal way. That was one of the terrible tragedies of many, and the people who gave that advice and made those decisions did all that, of course, with a heavy heart. They knew very well the costs that they were imposing, but they did it in the interests of the public and public health reasons, and it was very difficult. But I hear what you're saying, and I agree with the sentiment. And it was a very difficult time. But hopefully we won't have to return to that in the future.
Can you or will you say that it was a wrong policy and that it should never happen again?
No, I won't say either of those things. Sorry.
All right. Thank you.